Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What's X's take on the spirits of our pets? Story below. About 8 months ago, I had to do the hardest thing I've ever done and put my German Shepherd Otto down due to cancer. He was only 6. When Otto was alive, he loved to rub his head face on furniture to scratch it. He took a particular liking to a touch-activated floor lamp I had in the corner of my living room. I would always get annoyed with him because late at night when all the lights are off and we're curled up on the couch watching TV, he'd get up to have a drink of water or get some food, then come back and scratch himself on the lamp and end up turning it on. I would even sometimes wake up in the morning to find the lamp had been turned on my Otto at some point during the night. About 3 days after I lost Otto, I was laying on the couch watching TV in the dark like we always did together. I was startled when the floor lamp turned on all by itself. I kind of sat up and looked at the lamp, but nothing else happened. This started to happen every few days without interruption. Sometimes the lamp would come on at its lowest setting. The lamp had 4 different brightness settings, so 1 touch means dim and 4 touches means bright, and stay there, whereas other times the light would strobe between all 4 settings quickly and then turn off. My immediate thought was Otto was trying to let me know he was still with me, but my skeptical self decided to take the lamp in for repair. The guy who did the work on the lamp said he didn't find anything wrong with the lamp, but he replaced the pressure sensor anyway, since they tend to cause what I was experiencing when they go bad. Nothing happened for about 2 weeks after I got the lamp back home. But sure enough, one night it started turning on by itself again. I've moved the lamp around the house just to make sure it's not something else setting the sensor off. Air vents, vibrations, etc. But I would always eventually come to find the lamp had turned on by itself. I live alone, so that rules out the possibility of someone else turning it on. I eventually moved the lamp back into the living room, coming to terms with the fact that I can't do anything about it turning on by itself. I debated getting rid of it, but then I realized it's really the only connection left I have to Otto. It's always sporadic. Sometimes I go days without it turning on. Sometimes it turns on multiple times in a night. Sometimes it just comes on to its lowest setting and stays on. Other times it strobes between brightness levels and then turns off. I've slowly come to terms with the fact that it could very well be Otto, letting me know he's still with me. What does /X/ think? Has anyone ever had a similar experience? I never really believed in the paranormal before this, but I found comfort in the thought that my boy is still around.
I had a dear old dog named Bill who was in very poor health and quite a lot of pain before the end. At this point, we decided it would be a mercy to put him down. His back legs didn't work very well when he was alive, and we trained him not to bark. So when he wanted to come inside from the backyard, he would lift up one front leg and do 1 scratch against the back door. Ever since he died, we've been hearing that single scratch more than once daily. I'd attribute it to something else, but our door is completely unobstructed, no sticks or bushes nearby. I'm happy he's still around in some sense. Just too stinky for the other side, I guess. If it keeps happening, I just tell him to be quiet, and he usually chills out.
I got a story all the way from sunny Guam for you /X/. Enjoy. I wrapped myself in a nice warm blanket and watched the stormy sea until it calmed down. I just turned 21 when I got 3 days of bad weather. That was way more than I could stand. So I grabbed my raincoat and decided to take a walk on the beach. If I couldn't get in the water, at least I would smell it. I would taste the salty air and feel the waves on my bare feet. As I was walking towards the sea, I noticed something white in a pothole filled with water. It looked like a snowflake, but it never snows here. I always had a fascination for snow and ice. I always enjoyed learning about it or watching it. As I kneeled down, I realized it was just a tiny white octopus. It was the cutest critter I ever seen. I poked my finger in the pothole and the little guy jumped on it. He was about half the size of my index finger's nail. I placed him in my pocket, went to the nearest trash bin, and picked up an empty soda bottle. Cleaned it quickly in an inlet since the sea was too stormy to get close to. Then I placed the little octopup inside the bottle, the bottle in my pocket, and I continued my walk, careful to pick up seaweeds and other little worms or sea bugs that got washed up for my new friend. I named him Flakey, since he looked like a snowflake. The storm lasted for about 3 weeks in all, so I couldn't put him back into the sea. The wind was unpredictable, blowing from all directions, and the little guy would just get thrown back onto shore and die. I did take him to the local sea life center, but the people there said he isn't anything interesting and that I should just throw him back when I can. I did get some advice on food, though, and I experimented until I found things he liked to eat. He ate a lot. He seemed to favor seaweeds of all kinds and fish or meat. I would mince it in the blender and drop it little by little in the bottle. He was an energetic little fellow, and I would talk to him or stick my finger in the top of the bottle where he would attack it. After about 2 weeks, he grew to about the size of my finger, and I moved him to a jar. I was afraid he would get stuck in the little bottle. All this time I fed him, changed his water every day or every other 2 days, and generally tried to keep him in good spirits. He loved to chase little sea bugs around, so I made sure he always had those in his little improvised aquarium. After 3 weeks, the storm died down, and I decided to put him in this remote little rock outcropping I knew about. It was only connected to the sea during high tide. I decided to take him there in the morning, stay with him till the tide came in, and see the little guy off. I made a campfire and did my thing, swimming and catching some waves. I also placed my camping gear in such a way you couldn't get to the puddle unless you moved a lot of my own stuff beforehand. The place was deserted, but better safe than sorry. The little puddle I placed him in was about 1 cubic meter if I was to guess, and he loved it right away. He was darting around and seemed to be very well. I stayed till dawn when the sea came in and connected with the puddle. It was getting dark and he didn't seem to want to leave the puddle. I used my flashlight to see what he was doing while I was getting ready to leave. He was still darting around, but I figured he would leave eventually. I was wrong. The next day I came back and he was still there. I took care of him like before for about 3 months, bringing him food and such. By now he was the size of a big cat and he turned a dark shade of blue. He could get in and out of the puddle regardless of the tide just by climbing the rocks. He also started following me while I swam or surfed. He even came when I called him. He was adorable when he would snuggle in my cupped palms or grab on my leg when he knew I was about to leave. About this time, he also learned how to fish, so I started to bring him less and less food. I wanted him to be independent, not my pet. All was going well until one early morning. I was going to my camping site like normal when I saw Flakey on the beach, getting harassed by these 3 imbeciles. They were poking at him with sticks and throwing him around. I got angry, hit one of them with my surfboard and punched the other one a few times. The third one went down easily. These were weak, scrawny people, and they reminded me why I preferred to keep to myself. I broke one guy's arm, and the guy I hit with my board was bleeding, so they ran away. Flakey was trying to get back into the sea, but he was pretty big by now, and he wasn't making much progress. I went to grab him. He panicked, started throwing his tentacles around. Then I called his name and talked to him. He turned around, looked at me and went limp. I thought he would die, but he swam away slowly when I put him back in the sea. He only had a little tear on one of his fins, but I was afraid he was hurt more than could be seen. When I went back the next day, he was almost back to his normal self. It happened because he got too used to people. One of those guys told me the previous day, "Stop it, the stupid thing came to us." I decided not to let this happen again. I stopped going to the sea and got a job. It was about time, according to my mom, and I stayed away from the sea for 3 years. After those hard and bleak years, I was fired and I returned to my old ways. Flakey was nowhere to be seen anymore. I was worried about him, but I hoped he was doing well. I did everything I could for him. I never forgot about him. Maybe if I had a wife or friends or even a pet, I would have forgotten. But he was my only real friend, and I still thought of the little critter fondly. I spent the rest of my life enjoying the sea all the way up to my 60s. I was in pretty good shape too till one day, when I had a bad case of chest pain. I was taken to the doctors and they said I have an enlarged heart. Apparently it's from me working out too much. Typical doctors. If you don't work out, they say you need to work out. If you do work out, they say you worked out too much. They told me I should stop surfing, swimming, basically everything I loved. As I saw it, dying while doing something you love is a good death. so I kept at it. One day, while swimming out to sea, swimming better than I swam in years and getting carried away with it, it felt like I was 20 again. Unfortunately, my old heart gave up on me and I froze in pain. I went in and out of consciousness for hours, and when I came to, I was so far out to sea I couldn't even see the shore. It was getting dark too. Nobody could see me after dark, way out here. Nobody to call the Coast Guard since my parents died. I thought I was done for. But then something grabbed me. Gently, I thought it was seaweed at first, just tangling around me, but it was alive. The whole sea seemed to boil around me and I panicked and passed out again. I came in and out of consciousness. It seemed something was taking me somewhere. When I completely woke up, I was back on shore. I got up and stumbled to my home, where I slept for 2 days. I was not sure if it was real or a dream created by my failing body. I went back to where I woke up the 3rd day, camped there, and tried to remember things. Made myself a nice fire, brewed some tea and smoked a very sweet cigar. When my fire went out, the tea got cold and my cigar was smoked. I saw the sea rise up. The sight jolted me back to attention. As I was falling asleep before, the sea took shape and was advancing towards me. I went closer, even though I was scared out of my mind. But that's what I went there for. I went back there for answers, to remember. Then as the sea got closer, as it moved more, I realized it wasn't the sea, just a very big thing coming out of the sea. It was dark as the night. It looked surreal in the moonlight, and it had long tentacles that enveloped me. I thought this creature would eat me, but it just seemed to pet me. His big, strong tentacles gently touched me. I tried to move to see if it would let me leave. It did. I only had to push against it with my palm gently for the thing to make room for me. Then I thought, it couldn't be. Could it? I moved to the side and saw one of its scarred fins, just where I thought it would be. I called out to him. "Flakey!" It was him. He embraced me again and almost suffocated me this time. Clearly he remembered me as well. He was excited. I talked to him a bit and we went into the water together. I know most people would have been afraid. He did look very scary, but to me, he was still the tiny white octopus that liked to dart around all day in his little bottle. I went with him that night and he carried me so far and so fast I still can't believe it. I never went as far, even when I was younger. He was gentle too. Maybe I am giving him too much credit, but I think he knew how frail I gotten. Flakey grew into a bus-sized shadow. Even sharks avoided him. He avoided people, and for the first time since I found him, I knew he no longer needed my help. I went back to the sea after that, not as often as I used to since my health didn't allow me to. But once or twice a week I would camp out in a remote place, far away from prying eyes, and wait for my old friend, and he never disappointed. I am no longer afraid that people would hurt him. He seems more than able now. And I do love it so much when he swims with me. He even took me to this underground cave once. I tried to get down there myself but couldn't, so he helped me out. All was well until this young kid saw us one night, and he pestered, bribed, and flattered me till I gave up and told him my story. In case you haven't realized it by now, I am the young kid. I don't know how much of this story is true, but I saw a man of 60 swim faster than a boat during the night on 2 occasions, and something was under the water helping him do that. It displaced and sent ripples. I was just a tourist the first time I went there, saw him by accident the second I was sneaky about it, and used binoculars. Then I had to go back home. I came back 2 years later, I had to. The old man sadly died in the meantime, at home, peaceful by what I heard. Knowing he can't help me, I went to the spot he used to go to and made a fire just like he used to do and waited. At one point I noticed ripples, the sea bubbling at one spot and one spot only, then nothing. After that first night, nothing else happened for the rest of my stay. If it is down there, it only came to the old man. That's about it. Your guess is as good as mine if the old man was lying. But I wouldn't go swimming in those waters. Better careful than dead.
I had a dog pass away a little over 2 years ago now. I've always had 2 dogs, but for about 7 months after she passed, I just had the one. Every now and then, I'd feel a dog walking across my blankets in bed, when my living dog was already asleep between my ankles, or little things like that, running up and down the hallway, Once I even saw a white fluffy tail disappear around a corner. Both my current dogs are brown and short-haired. Susie was the only white and fluffy one I've ever had. I mean, there could be perfectly good explanations for all of it. But it's kinda nice to think that maybe sometimes your old dogs like to say hi every now and again, I think. Especially since her remains are still in the house. This might be weird, but I had her cremated. I didn't want to move and had to leave her behind, you know? I pretty much grew up with her.
I'm sorry about your dog. A few years back, I was sitting out by where my cat was buried. She died a long time ago from leukemia. She was a really good-natured cat all around. Was just quietly meditating, and I heard the tiniest little sounds on the ground coming my way. The ground was covered with leaves, and I could see the leaves compressing down as if tiny little cat feet were invisibly striding my way. I heard the faintest sound of that vibrating low purr that cats do when they are happy. Another cat story from my friend's house last Halloween. She had 2 black cats, but the older one died, and the younger one was depressed for a long time because he had no one to play with. That night we were all sitting out on the back porch, very dark except for the kitchen lights streaming out from the window. My heart started beating quickly and my skin felt prickly as I was looking out at the backyard. I saw a black cat running in the shadows just beyond where the light from the kitchen fell. I thought, oh, it's just Gandalf. But then I saw Gandalf run by chasing the other cat. I realized the first cat I had seen had been slightly transparent, which I dismissed as a trick of vision until I saw Gandalf run by. No doubt in my mind, the shadow cat was Gandalf's buddy.
Great story. I'm glad I'm not the only one. And thanks for the condolences. I know it's weird, but losing Otto has been harder on me than losing any human being by a long shot. It's just really comforting to know that he may still be around.
I lost my own cat too. She died of complications due to pancreatitis. It was a painful death, and I felt terrible that she went. I couldn't pick up her body at the emergency vet. I asked them to cremate her with the remainder of the money I used on paying for her services, disposing of her as they saw fit after that. It was more important to me that she was cremated. I didn't want to imagine her body being defiled or rotting, but ashes are ashes. They're just dust. I thought if her spirit was out there, she would be able to move on easier without seeing her body like that. I made a memorial for her, called for her to come to me, wanted her to be with me instead, but energy isn't static, it is dynamic, and even a soul should be allowed to move freely as it sees fit. A pet should be allowed to wander. I worried that if I held her with my desires, I might make her become resentful with my needs and my weakness. So I gave her freedom. I know she comes and goes, but she's a cat. Cats are free spirits. You will have a new cat, one you will fall for. It won't be the same, but he or she will still warm your heart. The love of your old friend will live on and may still show up in a new, unexpected way.
I totally believe pet souls remain with us sometimes. Almost 9 years ago, I lost the first Chihuahua I had, and Mom, Dad, and Sis have either seen his shadow or heard him sniffing under the door. I have to say it only happens in the house we used to live in, which is now my parents' office. No other pets are there, so it can't be another dog. Don't get rid of that lamp, apparently. He still loves it.
Yeah, I decided to keep it. Funny, I posted this last night and woke up this morning for work to find the lamp had turned on after I went to sleep last night.
I think animals do not possess a concept of a barrier between life and death like humans might conceive of. Human beings think in terms of alive or dead, no in between. But many creatures straddle the line between life and death. Frogs and turtles freeze solid in wintertime. Groundhogs' heart beats slow from 80 beats per minute to 5 while hibernating. All that to say that maybe life and death are different experiences than we might imagine. It might be perfectly natural for your friend to hang out with you like he did in life, even if he has crossed over from our perspective. I don't doubt that he's just trying to comfort his buddy. And I don't say any of that above to upset anyone, not implying that an animal couldn't find peace after death. I really don't know, but I do imagine that maybe time, space, life, and death are different and more mysterious than how we have been brought up to perceive them. I know it's not easy. I don't think you are weird for being more broken up about losing your dog than losing a human. I think I get where you are coming from, and I hope you find some peace.
No, I think what you're saying makes sense. I have other friends who have stories that are similar. A lot of them hear noises that can only be explained by their since passed on pets. I always chalked it up to auditory hallucinations. Kinda like they were so used to hearing the noise, their mind was playing it back to them. But after all this, I'm rethinking that theory.
I've always been very nice to animals my whole life, and up to date I take in injured strays into my home and help them heal, take them to the vet, comfort them, etc. My mom said the other day that if you are nice to animals in your lifetime, then those same animals that you helped will guide you through limbo into heaven or peacefulness after death. It's kinda interesting how her theory kind of ties into yours, how they stay in the barrier between life and death.
Usually lurk around on this board, but I actually got something I think worthy of mentioning. Be me. Fairly daring person, not really scared of anything paranormal. So for reference, this week I have gotten bad feelings of being gravely harmed. Each time I get this feeling, something gets me to do some action that would impede this harm. Example, I stop at a stop sign I normally don't stop at because I got a feeling that I should, and narrowly avoid being T-boned by a girl in F-150. Back to the current situation. Go hang out with friends at night at the river. Split off to go back to the car and have to walk through a really dark part of town. Think nothing of it until I start to hear chanting in the distance. Spooks the shit out of me, so I speed up to get farther away, about to get to a canopy-covered bridge path, super dark, so much so I can barely see 2 feet in front of me. This is when a stray cat, that is usually lurking around the area, comes over to get petted. I stop and pet it for a moment but need to continue on, but I'm so spooked I think maybe I'll sit and pet the cat till it leaves. I do so, and it eventually leaves, and I take that as it's time to head down the path. Start walking towards the path and hear a twig snap from something stepping on it. Think it's some kids trying to pull something, so don't think of it. Walking through the dark as hell path, barely able to see in front of me, and hear some things shuffling in the woods following me. Realize that it isn't some kids pulling a prank and start speeding up. Eventually I start full sprinting because something is following me. After getting home and thinking, maybe that the cat stopped me from running into whatever was following me at the start of the path. May not be this, but starting to think that there is some evil spirit trying to harm me, and there is a guardian angel residing over me.
My first and oldest cat has been dealing with hypothyroidism for several years now, and appears to be on her way out. She went from being a very muscular and fat cat, often mistaken for a male, to about 7 pounds. She's frighteningly thin, has no muscle or fat left, just bones, skin, and hair. She's always hungry, but nothing satisfies. We had her on transdermal, by ear, methimazole for a couple of years, and it seemed to help at first, but then apparently started destroying her body. She almost died from what seemed to be kidney failure until we realized the medication was doing more harm than good, and stopped giving it to her completely. Now she's living totally unmedicated, although her symptoms are better than when being daily medicated. Vets can't make sense of it, and I partially hold them to blame for leading her near to death with their one-size-fits-all advice, which we trusted. She doesn't seem to be in much pain or anything. She's still active and moves around her favourite people or spots in the house, but she sleeps longer and longer, in a way I recall seeing in a sick, outside-only cat who, when he slept outside, seemed to just abandon his body up to the elements, as if merging into nature and losing himself. It's like their energy starts going inward and no longer gives them vitality. We have a 3-year-old, highly intelligent and sensitive male cat who grew up around our old cat, and he's totally confused by the change in her look and behaviour. It'll be hard for him when she goes. I dread that the most. Personally, I believe in reincarnation and think that when one pet goes, another comes into your life sooner or later that you feel a special connection with. Also, sometimes I think that our pets are not all that they appear to be. That is just animals that we possess. They are more like guardian angels who serve a very important purpose in our lives, offering peace and comfort in difficult times, showing us a simple way of life satisfied with the bare essentials, and reminding us to love when we get too stuck in our thoughts. Communion with a cat is deep and profound. Their purring is like the ocean waves. It's primordial and beyond words. Yes, cats can be aloof, cold, etc., but people who think that that's all cats are simply haven't offered them any love and care. Cats open up to you, not with desperation like dogs, but with dignity. In a way, we are blessed by their presence in our lives.
Maybe we had some kind of bond, maybe just from being together so long. My whole life I wanted a cat. Parents finally say, we'll take you to get a cat, go with 2 brothers. Brothers decide they want a cat all of a sudden. Parents can only afford 2 cats, you don't get a cat. Still constantly want a cat. Always asking for a cat. Be in high school. Adult cat shows up on the porch, won't leave. Pet him. He wants to come inside, buy cat food, feed him. Owner comes by apologizing for his cat. Hope cat isn't bothering. Take the cat back, but the cat returns. Goes on for months. Comes by with a cage to take the cat to the vet. The cat is just running away from him. He brings the cat back from the vet, hands me food, vet papers, etc., saying you can have the cat. Spent 14 years with the cat, all my work done with him. We moved into a house together. He just seems so different than any other cat or dog or pet I've seen. Looks both ways before crossing the street, hesitates and looks around when deciding what to do. Knocks on doors to be let in. Never knocked over anything, never tore up or destroyed anything, never ate human food unless given the go-ahead. Sometimes hold up a paw to ask for a piece, always gets a piece. Comes when I call him except for when it's not that important and he has other things to do. Heeds my warnings. Once he wanted to attack an opossum and I shouted in fear for him to get inside and he ran inside. Once the neighbor's dogs got loose while I walked a friend's Pomeranian. These dogs were huge and tried biting and picking up the pom. My cat came running off the porch, got their attention, ran up the street to ditch him, then ran back through bushes after he lost the dogs. And this is like when he's super old with arthritis. He hated all other cats except kittens or injured cats. He was just the perfect companion. He never did a single thing wrong. It just feels like no pet could ever live up to the standards he set for me.
Sorry for your loss. I lost my cat 2 winters ago after nearly 14 years. Spicy was a remarkable cat. She could charm birds, open most doors, jump from anywhere to my lap without putting a single claw in me. Her first litter of 3, the 2 boys had extra toes on each paw. I think they are called Hemingways. She was very vocal and would answer questions even when not spoken to directly. I used to have to tell her, "Shut up, Spicy, you don't even know what I'm talking about." She was an excellent hunter of birds, rabbits, squirrels, snakes, mice, moles, and anything else that crossed her path. A wonderful mother, she once started making milk to help her daughter nurse a large litter. She slept with me every night, most times on my back. When my wife and I split up, I did not take her with me at first. I just couldn't until I got settled. I didn't even know where I was going when I left. I just knew I couldn't stay. About a week or so later, the wife calls, "Please come get your cat if you can." She is driving me bonkers. So the next day I went to get her, and she helped me from being lonely. She was by my side. Even steps I took inside or outside, she waited in the driveway for me to get home from work and would start meowing as soon as she saw me. The night she died, she came to me breathing funny. I knew it would be soon. She loved me up until literally seconds before passing. She got up and ran down the hall so I wouldn't have to watch her. She made a horrible noise that she never made in life. And I heard her flop. I knew it was done. The sound she made haunts me. I don't know why, it just wasn't what I expected, but I guess she went out with the same ferocious attitude she lived with. Pick is her our last summer together.
I never bring this up because I'm worried about sounding nuts, but I really do think there's some sort of reincarnation cycle. I found a dying baby dove once, and it struck me that it never even got to open its eyes. I thought it was such a waste of life, and it suddenly didn't make much sense to live just one. Maybe the soul just continues on, collecting lives and experience, and in between each reincarnation it remembers everything. Probably starts small, trees, bugs, animals, and then goes large, human. I feel you, Op. My 11-year-old Manx died last summer of health issues. We were enormously close. He helped me a lot when I was sick during my middle and high school years. I tried to help him too when his issues came up, but it wasn't enough. It feels strange that he's not next to me anymore. He was such a constant. He was born in my closet April 9th, 2005. Life, maybe literally, goes on. There's so much to speculate. Chin up, Op.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.